Associate Professor Bingqin Li is a social policy and governance expert who has helped introduce social policy research to China. She joined the Social Policy Research Centre in the Faculty of Art and Social Sciences in 2016 as one of the first academics hired under the UNSW 2025 Strategic Hires and Retention Pathways process. Speaking on how does a development agenda ignore the emotional needs of families, please welcome Bingqin Li.
Hello, everybody. What keeps me up at night? The social and economic development agenda ignores the emotional needs of families. I left China 20 years ago. I was very excited to leave my family, to explore the rest of the world. I remember telling my friends it was great to ignore my family responsibilities, such as staying at home and visit all my relatives during the Chinese New Year. Until one day, I read a post on the internet. A Chinese woman wrote an article about her life. Her father was about to die, and she wanted to go back to China, but found her visa expired. She rushed to the airport out of desperation without a visa. The officer told her that just get on a plane and try your luck at the Chinese border. In the end, she succeeded and saw her father before he died. At this point, I realized there are all these migrants somewhere in the world sharing the same fear that their parents might die when they are far away. We as development researchers have been diligently looking for ways to enhance the well-being of individuals. Social development has the same individual focus. The dream is to help individuals to achieve whatever they want to achieve in their life. Recently, the United Nations published the Sustainable Development Goals, addressing all sorts of problems in our society: poverty, inequality, vulnerability of women and children, climate change, environmental degradation. As I read these goals, I wonder, where is the family in these goals? I searched on the internet and found that it's not only me. Many people ask the same question. Unfortunately, there's no meaningful reference to family and family development in any of these goals. Family researchers didn't give up. They searched for hints between the lines, for hints that can help with family development. They found terms like women and men, old and young, and people with disabilities. They felt that when these people benefit, they are family members. When they benefit, their families can also benefit. The problem with this approach is that people are not referred to as parents and children, husband and wife, brothers and sisters, not to mention cousins. People are not referred to as in a family relationship where the emotional needs are taken care of. In the West, welfare states offers protection and social services to individuals in need so that they do not need to be dependent on the time, the money, and the efforts of their family members. The welfare state deliberately ignored the emotional perspective, leaving it to families. This is to assume that the expression of emotion can be separated from actions of care. In China, such a separation is very difficult. the expression of emotion is associated with the devotion of time and effort. Parents praise their children in terms of whether they have visited their parents in person, whether they have brought their parents out, whether they have given money to the parents. This expectation is not one-sided. The children have corresponding needs. They feel guilty when they cannot contribute significantly to their parents' care. On the internet, there are endless pages supporting children who suffer, who couldn't get out of the guilt when their parents pass away. They wish they had done more when their parents were alive. People think differently as they grow older. When they were young, they wanted to leave home. When they become older, they set up their own families. They started to appreciate what their parents have done for them. However, in our decision-making, when we do not take into account of the life cycle effect, we may regret in the future. Confucius offered some practical suggestions to this. He said, when parents are alive, children should not travel afar. In ancient China, when a person died, the son should return to home and mourn for 3 years, no matter how successful he is in his career. The children were made to sacrifice according to these customs. But these are attempts to guarantee parents are not uncared for and the children are not trapped in guilt psychologically. In modern China, families do not follow these rituals. Social and economic development agenda that tries to facilitate modernization and globalization rips families apart, leaving parents and children separated. When in the media, there are more and more sensational and sad stories about families being left behind, leading miserable lives, we know that the society's conscience is challenged. The ancient solutions are suitable for an agricultural society where returning to home village was a realistic option. However, this is not the case in modern society. The Chinese government tried to reintroduce the traditional moral value by publishing a law to protect the older people's rights. According to this law, children should visit their parents often. But the law was criticized to the effect of public mockery. How on earth are you going to implement this policy? What if the children cannot fulfill such responsibilities? Are you going to lock them up in prison cells so that they will not be able to see their parents again? In real life, people do make efforts to reunite with their families. Rural to urban migrants travel through cold winter days across the country to meet their families during the Chinese New Year. This is not only in China and about Chinese. When I traveled to Turkey, to India, to Europe, the flights were packed with migrants returning home. What makes this long and strenuous journey particularly moving is the time, the effort, and the warmth people brought back to their families. Researchers complain about the cost of modernization on family relationships. However, we also see interesting technical developments, which helps to reinforce family connections. In China, some real estate developers come up with the design so that parents and children can live next door to each other, going through separate entrances. For children staying far away, there are also technical solutions. When the internet calling software was invented, such as Skype, my life was transformed. I could show my parents around my house, hearing my mother making uninvited comments on my cooking through the internet. When I have internet shopping, I could buy goods and services and deliver them to my parents' home as if I just lived next door. When there's high-speed trains, migrants' journey back home were made so much easier. When we have tickets apps on the mobile phone, migrant workers do not have to queue for days to get tickets. A friend's mother lives in a care home in China. She sleeps on a smart mattress with sensors. The carer used a mobile phone app to sync information about her mother's health status. My friend decided to download the software herself so that she can monitor her mother's health status when she is in Sydney. The inventor told me that she originally designed the software for social work professionals, but it was also downloaded by children living far away. Seeing these changes, I couldn't help thinking, do we need the traditional solutions, such as rules and laws, to fix the rituals for our family relationships? When emotional needs are strong, innovations may emerge. Having said this, technical changes can be random. We cannot expect them to fix everything. It is time for policymakers and researchers, including scientists and social scientists, to figure out how to integrate family needs into the development agenda. Not only take account of individuals, but also families, so that when we pursue the development, we do not need to rip the most basic units of our society apart. This is a grand challenge.